Hi, welcome to Revenue Marketing Television, the CMO Insight Series. I'm your host, Jeff Pedowitz, President and CEO of the Pedowitz Group. Today as our guest, we have Mr. Rodney Hutton, who is Chief Marketing Officer of the Ethan Allen Group worldwide. Rodney, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Jeff. Nice to be here with you.
Oh, pleasure to have you. So Ethan Allen, very, very established brand. And I'm just curious, with a lot of the retailers and things going on right now, what's happening in your industry?
Yeah, boy. Like you and countless others, this pandemic has consumed our business strategic thinking and challenged us in ways that, I say it's been a failure of contingency planning. I mean, literally failure of imagination, right? That we would be faced with something like this that would completely shut down business operations literally overnight. So it's been very, very challenging. But I think we, as a company, I think leadership during these times is crucial. And we are blessed with a veteran CEO who has run the company for decades. We've navigated multiple crises, and we took very decisive action early. We communicated often. I think we found our voice, the right tone to engage the customer. We did some things which were counterintuitive. I think marketing's, during risky times, you want to stick your head in the sand and sort of ride it out before but I think we actually took the other approach. We felt it was important to share our values, show empathy, and stay in front of the customer. So it's been a challenge. We've made some mistakes, but I think overall we've been able to maintain a positive presence.
So given furniture is heavily an in-person experience, right, to be able to come, what are some of the things that you are doing digitally to get buyers engaged, reach out to customers?
You know what? It's been fascinating. Our company has very quietly but very consistently been developing all kinds of technology over the past decade, right? So from continual updates to our e-commerce platform, to proprietary development of remote design programs, to expanding live chat and video chat bandwidth across our 300 design centers. And I think those technologies, including our virtual AR apps, these were technologies that I think finally came into their own during this pandemic, because you're right. Traditionally, furniture is a high ticket item. It's an investment item in a lot of cases, and it requires multiple touch points before the purchase is made. And I think that where we actually, I think, have done a really good job is training our associates to embrace the technology. We are a mature company. Not everybody who works with us is a millennial and born with a computer chip in their brain. But we've worked with our associates. We've gotten a level of comfort. So we actually did quite well in continuing to engage our customers via these technologies. Projects that were started in our design centers, which were suddenly closed, continued seamlessly using our design technologies and our AR apps and our video systems. And I also think that the consumer, again, because of 20 years of cell phone and apps and comfort with technology and trying and downloading new apps, and was really primed to say, wait a second, I have needs. I can't have the traditional physical experience. There has to be a digital solution. So between our associates being comfortable and trained on our industry technology, and the consumer understanding that there has to be a technological solution They had an open to listen, and open to learn, and open to engage across these platforms, and we were able to service them fairly accurately.
So I'm curious. I'm sure a lot of your revenue comes from in-store, but in terms of e-commerce, mobile commerce,
yeah.
Where's the direction of Ethan now going? What percentage?
So we have seen a doubling of our e-commerce revenue through this pandemic. Some of it understandable that stores were closed.
Sure.
Some of it surprisingly positive in the sense that that trend continues, even if as our stores are now 100% open, which tells me that we were able to engage a new customer during the pandemic. We had a captive audience. Our industry is also one of the industries that I think those who found the right empathetic voice actually did better during this. I mean, I'm sitting on these white Italian leather cubes. They look great, but they're the most uncomfortable things ever, because I realized, other than watching my 90-minute Chelsea games, I probably haven't spent more than 90 minutes ever sitting in these chairs. And I now find myself, 8 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours of video conference calls. Guess what? I'm running to my nearest furniture store to find something more accommodating. The chairs are uncomfortable. I move to my counter. I realize my counter stools really are not the right height to be able to sit up straight. So I think multiply those realizations, and also I'm a little embarrassed by my very bland backdrop here, because I just moved, and I love your very rich backdrop, and I'm saying I'm inviting my whole team into my living room. I'd like something more interesting than a plain wall, right?
See, and here I thought you were just a minimalist. You were just going for that whole feng shui thing. Yeah.
Right. Good. I'll keep you thinking that. Yeah, I'm minimalist look.
Yeah, sometimes the best things in fashion are just
that's
really,
right.
really
That's right. And I did work
right?
for Mr. Armani.
You went all the way for it.
Well, I did work for Mr. Armani for 10 years, so I'm well groomed in minimalism. So multiply that by hundreds of millions of realizations, and the comfort and the function of home has never been more important. I don't think ever. And I think that's what's fueling a little bit of the spurt that the industry is seeing.
Interesting. So shifting gears a little bit, one of the reasons why I invited you on the program today is I wanted you to share with our audience some of your experiences growing up as a Black man. You've clearly had tremendous success in the fields of brand merchandising and marketing. And maybe you could share a little bit personally about your story growing up. How did you even get into this field, or know that you wanted to do this?
So, just as I was about to graduate, my whole life, I'd wanted to become a lawyer, but in hindsight, I'd wanted to become a lawyer because my father wanted me to become a lawyer, right? So I eventually accepted that reality and made it my own, so that I thought. But as I was about to graduate, I realized that, I was much more interested in the creative arts, and I was fascinated by how art can become commerce. Absolutely fascinated. And I was starting to look at companies that were big businesses, that were essentially somebody dreaming up a creative concept, producing product, marketing an image, and turning it into commerce. And I informed my dad that I wouldn't be going to law school. He shook my hand and he said, good luck, go out and feed yourself, house yourself, clothe yourself, and good luck becoming a starving artist, right? But again, he had a fit, as a man of a certain generation. He's a Black man. His only vision of true success career-wise, he was an engineer, so you either became an engineer or an attorney or a doctor, and everything else was irrelevant.
Hey, I have Jewish parents. I know it's a doctor or lawyer, same thing.
Right. And so, but I followed my heart, and I walked into the Ralph Lauren mansion on 72nd Street one day, and the moment I opened the doors, I got it. I said, "Oh my goodness, this is somebody's aesthetic that he has built out into this dream world that people, you cannot want to be a part of it once you cross this threshold." And I immediately asked for the HR office, went out and filled out an application, and got a call back. This is, late 80s, early 90s. And my fashion career began then. I started as a summer part-time cashier help, went into sales, did exceptionally well in sales, went into management. Then I don't know why, I got pretty lucky. I got recruited by the late Fred Pressman to join Barney's in a brand marketing role. Had a couple of good years there, continued to learn, and was recruited by Giorgio Armani. That's really why I grew up as a merchant. Again, I went in as a junior merchant. 10 years later, I was the chief merchant for North America for all of Giorgio Armani retail. It was a tremendous experience. Company allowed me to experiment, allowed me to fail, allowed me to have a measure of success. It was a really good 10 years, but I was still fairly young and probably overly ambitious. I could have stayed at Armani, become a lifer, but I knew that there was a big world out there, and there were many different business models that I wanted to learn from. And I had developed a very good relationship with Tommy Hilfiger. He had tried to recruit me over the years while I was at Ralph Lauren and Barney's, and he had just acquired the rights to Karl Lagerfeld. So he called me up and he said, "You're going to read in WWD tomorrow the biggest blockbuster fashion acquisition ever. I'm partnering with Karl Lagerfeld, and I'm going to run his business worldwide." Next thing you know, I was on a plane to Paris with my CEO to meet Karl, and we spent 2.5 amazing years working with Karl. So when I say luck, I go from the Italian master to the French master, and that was pretty incredible. It was also, I think, a real education for me in big business strategic maneuvering. 2.5 years into the Karl Lagerfeld project, Tommy Hilfiger sold the whole company, us included, to private equity. It makes you wonder about the true motivation of the acquisition in terms of being a cherry on top of the Tommy enterprise. But brilliant strategic stroke. Tommy is not just a creative genius, he's a business genius. I have a tremendous amount of respect for him, and over the years, I say that I've seen him reinvent his company at least 4 times over the past 30 years. And each time he happens to be at the right place in terms culturally at the right time. So, so I'm a student of history, big history buff, political history, world history, and by extension, business history. So when I talk about looking at businesses and CEOs and captains of industry who just have the right sort of marketing of their brand, of their business at the right time, I lean into that. I key into that. I look for those cues. I ask those questions. I'm curious about what do they see in culture or in society or in politics that made them feel they needed to pivot a little bit just to be in line with where the consumer's head was. So when the company was sold, I wanted to take some time off. My kids were little. I stayed home, wanted to be a Tribeca dad and coach Little League, and I thought I'd do that for a year. 6 months in, I was ready to run for the hills because I realized the hardest job in the world is taking care of a toddler and a newborn.
Got that right.
Yeah, I had a whole new respect for my wife from that moment. So it was just about 2008, and I was suddenly getting a flurry of calls from my friends in private equity asking about fashion brands. What did I think? Everything from what I think about the brand in general, what I think about its leadership, what do I think about the designers, what do I think about the category classifications. And I realized, this is very interesting. So I'm giving all this advice away for free. And I said, well, while I'm home, why don't I just start a little LLC? And I had a good friend of mine who worked for Bain in London, and he wanted to do something else. And so we sort of started pitching ourselves to private equity as subject matter industry experts in fashion. And again, luck of timing, 08, 09 crashed. Private equity was sweeping in and buying fashion brands, and we were able to position ourselves as acquisition advisors and post-acquisition advisors. So we did that together for a couple of years, and I started to get a little antsy again, feeling like I sort of was looking to do something big again. And I was introduced to Neil Cole, CEO of Iconix brand group. I'd read about what he had done. Kenneth Cole's brother. He kind of had the shoe business. He had the apparel business, but he went bankrupt twice trying to run the apparel business, and he was like, "There's got to be a better way." And one day it came to him that the value's in the IP. You don't have to be the operator, but if you can acquire the IP and form a terrific global licensing network of best-in-class operators, then you can be the marketer of the IP, and true specialists who know how to operate a business can operate. So he started Iconix, and at its height, $14 billion in global revenue, 35 owned brands, just an industry phenomenon, and really credited as the father of sort of global brand licensing. I mean, at its peak, Iconix was the third largest brand licensing company in the world after Disney and Warner Brothers. So I was eager to meet him. I met him, and interesting guy, very, very smart guy. I think he was a little fascinated by me. I wasn't the typical Iconix hire. In other words, I had a little bit of a marketing background, but my background was mostly in merchandising. I had marketed myself and my company, obviously. But he saw that there was a correlation, and a few months in, I had consulted with him for a while, and then became the EVP of a division of Iconix, managing a $4 billion portfolio of brands. Again, it was an incredible opportunity. It just really allowed me to continue to learn, make some, really learn from the best of the industry. And it was an exciting period. Again, gave me another layer. So at this point in my career, I'm a merchant, I'm a bona fide marketer, but I still am eternally curious. It's probably going to be my doom. Don't know when to quit.
Well, it certainly brought you on an amazing journey so far.
Yeah.
So you have interacted with some incredible people, famous people along the way. Tell us about maybe some of the adversity.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel along the way that you had to overcome some things?
Absolutely. From the very first, so when I had walked into Ralph Lauren all those years ago, I walked in and I wanted to sell because I wanted to be in all the glamorous clothes of all the salespeople that I saw there selling expensive wares, making a lot of money. I was told I didn't have any experience, but if I wanted to, I could start as a cashier. And I, being young and bullish, my attitude was, okay, put me anywhere, I'll show you what I'm capable of. And 3 months in, every single manager in every single department was lobbying for me to join their sales team, because I ran that my cashier station like a field marshal. I directed and I managed the clients, I managed the staff, I even managed the managers, and everybody was absolutely in love with me. And they were all lobbying for me, and I was lobbying for myself. And then the answer I kept getting was, oh, you don't have any experience. But meanwhile, I saw children of New York society, some of them didn't even have a college education, were just being hired as salespeople. Then I said, something isn't right here. So I'd gone to the management and I had said, I've been here 3 months, I've proven myself, I've got managers wanting me on their sales teams, and I'm being told I don't have experience, but you've got all these people. Well, okay, let's think about it. And then I'll never forget, a couple of days later, I'm called up, and the executives are sitting in front of me, and big bright smiles. We're so excited. We want to offer you a new position. I'm waiting for the drum roll, and we want you to be the head accountant for the whole store. Since you run your cashier station, we want you to manage all 28 million of annual receipts. And I'm sitting there, and a part of me knew that I had been bamboozled, right? So now I'm going to be stuck in the office, and I'm being steered to an accounting position that I certainly could do, but wasn't what I wanted to do. But I said, okay, I will do it on one condition, that when the time is right, I'll be considered for a sales job. Yes, you'll be considered for a sales job. So I go up there, and for 3 months, I'm the store's accounting manager. And I just absolutely hate it. So I go back down, and there's the moral of this story, just to be a spoiler, is you never give up. No matter how many times doors have slammed in your face, you never give up. So at this time, my second 3 months here, I've spent at Ralph Lauren. I go back to the managers and I go, how do you think I'm doing? Oh, you're doing great. I said, yes, I feel like I'm doing great too, but I hate it. It's not what I want to do. And I'm just now a little concerned because I feel like I'm not being given the opportunity to do what I'm clearly capable of, what every manager in this store wants me to do. And I will never forget, and I actually demanded, I said, and I want to know why. And I won't name names, but these are two people who are now probably at the highest level of Ralph Lauren. Back then, they were store managers. And one put her hand on the gentleman's knee and said, Rodney, why don't you give us a second? And I sit outside, I come back in, and they go, well, listen, if it's sales that you want, and the men's manager is adamant he wants you, then I guess you can have the job. And I was so excited. I was a kid. I was barely 21. And I stuck my hand out and to shake his hand, and he pulled his hand away. And he said, I just want you to know, I don't think you're ready. This is not my idea, but we'll give it a try. Long story short, my first year in sales, I set the mansion sales record for a first-year associate that stood for 17 years. How do I know for 17 years? Because every year this gentleman who originally didn't want to give me the job, ended up becoming lifelong friends, and he would tell me, no first-year associate has ever hit that mark. And I went on to have 4 amazing years of always, top 2 in the shop, and then was given an opportunity to go into management. Jumped at that because I love learning and I love teaching. So the opportunity to sort of share techniques and strategies, and because and I learned early, that's why in our pre-conversation when I talked about it's so important for Black kids to have visual examples and exposure to what's possible. It's crucial. So when those 3 months, when I was at my cashier station, what I was doing is looking at different models. And there were salespeople that were phenoms, and there were salespeople that were mediocre. And I said, I want to be one of those. So I studied and I observed every single nuance. The gentleman's name is Dan Flynn. Amazing gentleman. The way he clasped his hands together when he spoke to clients, the way he insisted on holding the client's shopping bag and walking it to their car, the things that he did. When clients came in, if Dan was busy, they would sit for an hour and wait for Dan. They wouldn't even consider. So I say this to say that you have to model yourself after excellence in everything, but especially in career. So that's an example. And then throughout my career, I was never given the plum jobs. Even at Amani, I was given the division that nobody wanted. I was an entry merchant, so I get it. I turned that around, was given another division. I turned that around, was given another division. I turned that till 10 years later, I ran the whole thing. So yes, you do have to work harder. You do have to fight harder, but you do get to a place where your talent is unquestionable. Your drive is unquestionable. It does get a little easier, but you still have to fight. I still have to fight today.
It's a great insight, Rodney. I think you're an inspiration for many, and it's easy to see why you've been so successful in your career. Drive, determination, conviction, knowing what you wanted to do, what you didn't want to do, and overcoming adversity along the way. So thank you so much for being on the program.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed talking to you.
It's a pleasure. And so tell us a little bit, new exciting line coming out soon from Ethan Allen?
Yes, we've launched quite a few interesting new products. Earlier in the year, we launched Lucy by Ethan Allen, which is a very sort of cool, younger in feel, mid-century inspired upholstery line, totally customizable in a few easy steps. You can pick your legs, you can pick your frame, you can pick your fabrics, and really have this fun, easy to customize line. We just also launched this August our new farmhouse collection, which is an amazing sort of beautiful reinvention of classic farmhouse with modern organic forms, which is also in stores and available online even as we speak. So yeah, we're continuing to reinvent.
Very exciting. Rodney, thank you so much for being on the program. Best of luck to you and Ethan Allen in the years ahead.
Good. Jeff, thank you for having me, and thank you very much for doing this. I think it's an important subject.
You got it. Thank you.
Thank you.